Okay, so as we were mentioning, we're going to start into the TIE Defender now, which is the other Imperial ship that I would have picked up. So much smaller than the Slave One, but again, the model quality is absolutely fantastic. I'm not going to let it like focus perfectly or anything, but the model quality is, take my word for it, really to a high degree.
Yeah.
The guys have done a service, honestly.
It's very hard to find flaws on this, and for a pre-painted ship, you're thinking you have to tell yourself there's definitely going to be a flaw. But then you look at it, the glass that the pilot looks like is already glazed, so it's shiny reflective glass, and yet all of the outside of the ship, the metallics are all matte coloured, and then the lasers are individually painted as well. So yeah, it's really something.
So either by a machine or a very underpaid child in China.
Thank you, China.
Thank you, China. Donald Trump doesn't like you and he thinks he wins deals against you.
China.
We love you. China. So the same as the other, same as Slave 1, you get a list of things that you would actually have in it. So with the TIE Defender, you get 11 new cards, you get 19 tokens, one maneuver dial, which is what we talked about in the first video, is basically what you're going to do. So you decide what you're going to do before everyone decides what they're going to do in the movement phase before you actually do it, so you can't like change your mind after you see what they move. And then you get one piece of plastic shipping base as we saw. So the actual cards itself, like with the Slave 1, any additional modifications in terms of rules come with their modifications to the rule set. So in this case, you've got the Ion token and the modification of the tiles reference card. So to the upgrade cards that we're getting along with it. With the TIE Defender, which I actually loved the TIE Defender from Joe had it in the first game that we played. I really liked it.
And the game Rogue Squadron. Yeah. If you're, like, it was Rogue. Oh, it was X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, was it?
It was a Rogue Squadron as well. I'm not sure about. It was probably an X-Wing versus TIE Fighter.
X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, the TIE Defender, and it's just super maneuverable TIE Fighter. 3 wings, so it's got like a triangle shaped wing thing going on, and it's very cool, and it puts out a lot of pain as well.
And in the actual kit, so whereas you would have got 3 pilots with 3 main pilots and then the base one, you're getting the same similar kind of one in the TIE Defender. You're getting 3 named pilots and 1 basically Delta Squadron. Delta Squadron, who cares about Delta Squadron?
Delta Squadron!
So the one I would have played with, I think the first one would have been the Rexler Brath, I think.
Rexler Brath. It was, but we kept forgetting to use his special rule, but he's still a pretty good pilot.
So again, he's got a dot beside the name, as Joe would have symbolized earlier, which means it's a unique character, which means you can only have one of them in your list. There may be 2 on the field in terms of the other person you're playing against, because Imperials can play against Imperials, but it'll only be 1 in your list. The same with Colonel Vessery, but the Onyx Squadron pilot and the Delta Squadron pilot, which are lower class, you could have multiples of those if need to be. So you could run a list with just TIE Defenders. Might be a bad idea, but it might be a good idea, I'm not sure. But we'll talk about just the main characters are there again. So again, we bring the cards up on actual screen here. So Rexler Bass itself is the highest quality pilot with pilot skill of 8. You've got attack tokens, which are 3, evasive tokens, which are 3, which is huge compared to some of those ships. The hull points is 3, and a very important distinction to what we had with the original TIE Fighters in the original box set is this one has 3 shields, and that is a key characteristic of the actual TIE Defender.
Yeah, so if you compare that to Luke Skywalker's X-Wing, which is a pretty good comparison, Luke Skywalker's X-Wing I think comes in at 28 points. It has 3 attack, 2 agility, 3 hull, and 2 shields. This is better than that for agility, and it's better than it for shields. So it's really unique for a TIE ship to have that much output. Same pilot skill, but this comes in at a whopping 37 points.
It's ridiculous.
Which is why no one uses TIE Defenders until next month, which is the great thing about Fantasy Flight. They saw that no one uses them because they cost too many points, so they're bringing out an upgrade card that's going to make it a little bit cheaper, just a couple of points cheaper.
So how do they release those upgrade cards?
They release it typically in a new box set. So in this case, they're bringing out what's called the Imperial Veterans box set, I think it's called, and they include a TIE Bomber in it, which is painted up really cool, and they include the TIE Defender in it, which has again got a different paint scheme as well. And then in that, they just throw in loads of upgrade cards specific to those 2 ships. And you might think, why would people buy the extra ship and just to get the cards? Everyone buys those box sets. They're super popular. So
the cards are definitely the most probably valuable thing in it.
Yeah, definitely. But if they make a ship more popular and only include 1 of it in the box, odds are you're going to use 2 of it anyway, so you'll have all the original cards as well.
Okay, cool. And just to across all the actual TIE Defender pilots, the attack, the vase, the hull, and the shield is identical. So the only difference here is the additional perks that the pilots get and the pilot skill then as well. So just to move on to into Rector Brath again. So where we would have the Onyx and the TIE Defender, they've just got a bit of fluff in their names. The other two named characters actually have special rules in there. So in this case, Rexler would have an additional when you perform an attack, it does at least 1 damage card to the defender, and you may spend a focus point to flip those cards face up. So if you're doing a normal attack, you get to flip it up, and actually they take the full damage instead.
Yeah. So in this case, you see Rexler at the bottom has the elite talent upgrade. So out of all the elite talents, you would look at his special ability and look at the elite talent and think, what can I use to maximize him getting a focus token or getting some ability that gets him a focus token for free without having to do the action, or giving him 2 actions or something that would accentuate his special rules. So it's really important that he has the elite pilot talent upgrade there.
And just to keep me straight here on this show, the other one is the heavy
laser cannon,
and the last one's missiles.
Yeah.
Okay. And then in the actual special abilities that Rexler has in this case, it seems to be the same right throughout all. So it's focused, target lock, and barrel roll. Yeah. So barrel roll again is the one that we said was very, very handy, and I remember using it in the first game we played, where you can roll to the left completely or roll to the right. Yeah. And as long as your base is completely on the marker, it doesn't matter if you go forward or back, so you can get a little bit of movement out of it as well.
Or if you're shooting at a ship and you're got an asteroid right in front of you, barrel roll means now you don't have the asteroid in front of you, and whoever you're shooting at is completely vulnerable to your shots. So it's barrel roll is excellent, really excellent.
Just in comparison, we're going to look at Colonel Vessery, which is the same in terms of upgrade points. So he has the same upgrade, he has the same heavy laser and the same missile. The only difference is when attacking immediately after you roll attack dice, you may acquire a target lock on the defender if it is already has a red target lock token. Yeah. So explain what target lock does.
So you want to, first of all, you love that stuff because it's giving you a free action essentially. If it says after you attack you get a free focus or a free target lock, you love stuff like that because it means the next turn you don't have to do the action to get that stuff, which frees you up to do additional stuff. So looking to minimize and maximize as much stuff like that is crucial in the game. What the target lock actually does is I roll my 4 attack dice or 3 attack dice. I see which ones have missed or which ones I don't like, and I pick those up and re-roll them. Target lock is really effective for that. In other cases, target lock is mandatory. So for using missiles, you can't fire the missiles without a target lock, so you have to use them for that.
My favorite word, by the way, reroll. It's definitely one of my favorites.
One last thing on Colonel Vessery, right? You'll see Colonel Vessery is pilot skill 6 and squad points cost is 35. So he's 2 points less than Rexler Brath, and he's 2 pilot skill less. And throughout the entire game of X-Wing, pilot skill is really well matched to points cost. So if you are 3 pilot skill more than the next guy, typically you cost 3 points more.
So it's always point for point, almost.
Pretty much for pilot skill, yeah.
Okay, I would have thought it would have been even more expensive or less expensive than that. Sorry for less points, but I'm guessing it makes that big of a difference.
The more pilot skill you get as well, and if you have a special ability along with that, it gets even more effective. It's a knock-on effect. Even more effective, the better pilot skill it is. So
cool. Yeah,
you have to price it accordingly.
So I don't know if I'll use this later on. I probably will. I'll probably have to unless I use 2 of the TIE Fighters, but we'll see on. But I definitely, I would say I'm very visual when it comes to buying these type of models. I saw the TIE Defender when I played with it last time. I thought the model looks fucking awesome. Even if it sucks at the moment, I know the upgrade's coming out, which probably make it better. But even if it sucks at the moment, I still love the look of the model, which is why I would get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably the reason Joe bought me Slave One is these
as
well. So just to talk for a moment on the upgrade cards. So I already mentioned the additional rule cards that you get. So the upgrade cards you get along with it, you have. What is it? You've got 2 upgrade cards. You've got one.
This one's unique, right? Because this one is the first modification we've seen in the unboxing so far.
Munitions failsafe, which will put a bigger model up on the second.
Exactly, but it's a modification, so you'll see in the bottom left there's no symbol for it. But in the back of the card, you'll see there's a little kind of crossbows of wrenches on it, so you're modifying the ship. And those can go on anything. So when you actually look at the pilot card, you'll see modification is not at the bottom of it. Modifications can just be put on ships. But the rules for modifications come as an additional card. It's this one right here. And this explains the rule that you can only have 1 modification on a ship at any one time. So it allows you to give an engine boost to the ship maybe, or a little bit of extra shields or durability. And in this case, it's a munitions failsafe. So
it's only 1 point.
It's 1 point. Why not take it?
And it's 1 card as well, so it's not like a case that you can't use it. You can use it in every one of them.
So if you invest something like missiles in your ship, which are quite expensive already, and you fire and you miss, that's it. The missile upgrade card is gone and you don't get anything. Munitions failsafe says that for 1 point, if you miss, leave the card on it, try again later. So it's pretty good.
So it's like a permanent kind of addition. like frag grenades or whatnot.
Yeah.
The other ones then you get with it are the ion pulse missiles, which does 3 damage.
Yeah.
3 damage.
So that has 3 points cost, and it rolls 3 attack dice.
And it can only be fired within 2 to 3 range, so you can't fire at point blank range. It has an arming distance like other times. So a bit more like a torpedo than a missile. So that's a one-off shot.
Yeah, you'll see that this says attack bracket target lock. So that bracket means it's mandatory that you have a target lock before you can attack. Yeah.
And then we've got the ion cannon, which is the heavy laser upgrade. Although it's got a slightly different symbol.
That says attack, and then it says attack one ship. So there's no actual requirement to have a target lock before using that ion cannon.
Nice. So again, another 3 damage can be used within 1 to 3 range. And then we've got 2 upgrade cards. We've got 2 upgrades. One is outmaneuver.
Yeah.
When type of ship is inside the firing arc, if you're not inside the ship's firing arc, reduce its agility value by 1 to a minimum of 0.
It's really, really cool artwork on it, actually.
Essentially take away one of their agility marks.
It's a TIE Defender that's popped in behind the Millennium Falcon. And when you're in behind, if you're out of arc of a ship and that ship can't see you, then odds are in real life you'll be able to do maximum damage, because it doesn't know where you are.
Millennium Falcon is a 360 arc.
Only for firing, not defending.
Only for... Oh, okay, so the arc depends on that as well.
The arc is... Well, no, not really, but I mean, just in fluff terms. It can't defend if it can't actually see the ship and where it is.
Nice.
So if you've managed to outmaneuver, especially for dogfighting, like an X-Wing and a Y-Wing against a TIE Fighter, if the TIE Fighter's in behind the Y-Wing, it's just like open shooting season. The Y-Wing can't do anything, can't maneuver away, so...
And the last one then is Predator. So when you're attacking, you may reroll 1 attack dice if the defender's pilot skill value is 2 or lower. So basically, you're mopping up the really low pilot. So maybe if you come against a horde list, you can pretty much mop up those ones with a low pilot skill.
So you reroll 1 against anyone, and you reroll 2 against if their pilot skill is 2 or lower. So it's a really... This is a very popular card as well, actually, because it can happen multiple times if you're firing multiple times.
Is there any modifier cards that can reduce pilot skill?
So... Just on terms of modifying cards, these aren't modifiers, these aren't modifications, these are elite
upgrades.
talents.
Okay.
Yeah. So they have on the back of the card you have the elite talent symbol.
Yeah.
So you can tell them apart. So that's the elite talent card. So only elite pilots can have it. And then modifications are different things you do to the ship and stuff like that.
Okay.
You can have an elite talent which changes your pilot skill, which is really, really useful. For 1 point you can change it up by 2.
And that's throughout the game, that's on any space.
That's for the whole game until it's removed by a damage card. Damage cards can remove things like that.
Okay, cool. And again, the only other points then left with the actual box itself are the cards itself.
Yeah.
So you've got the cards that denote the skills of the pilots on them. So you've got different ones on either side by the looks. So you just flip them around, so they're multi-use. That may be a little bit preventive in terms of if you wanted to use multiple TIE Defenders, but I imagine if you're buying multiple TIE Defenders, you're probably going to buy the box with all the cards, so you're probably fine.
Exactly.
So you're never going to be ever using like Colonel and then the other one unless you have bought 2 models. Although you could essentially use... so it has the 2 special ones and the 2 normal ones on each side, so you could essentially do that.
They try to do that. They try to maximize the use of the special characters by putting the boring ones on the backhand side.
And again, you have enough shield tokens and everything there on top of both cards to actually do whatever you want, including the movement icon cards. The movement icon cards always say the ship type on them, don't they? They don't say the name, it's just that ship itself. And then you've got the actual numbered cards, and the number cards were for denoting which...
so let's say you're flying around with 10 TIE Defenders in an extreme example. How are you possibly going to keep track of the damage on the TIE Defenders if they're all just generic ones? And the way you do that is by squad numbers. Fantasy Flight are really well prepared with this because they have target locks included in this pack. The letters on the target lock are unique to this pack, so you'll never have another ship that has W as its target lock, and you'll never have another squad number which is 37. 37 only comes for the squad number in this pack, so really well prepared. 3 shield tokens because you have 3 shield upgrades, a focus token because you can focus, an evade token because can it evade? Yeah. So it has an evade token if you can evade. It can't evade actually.
No, doesn't.
Focus
It's only got barrel roll. I know. I remember that you didn't have evade on. So that's pretty much the kit for the little box. It's a pretty small one for the TIE Defender, and that was Slave 1 as well. So that's the Imperial boxes talked about today.
How much is the TIE Defender? It's roughly like $20, €16.
I think they were all €16. Yeah, 16, the TIE Defender was 16. The Enderhawk was 16. All the little ones, so just like the boxes that come in this size, the little small ones, whereas Slave 1 and Millennium Falcon were slightly bigger. They were all 16. There was ones that were 20. Was like the
Hawk.
Super TIE Bomber.
Hawk
as well.
was,
no, Hawk was 16 as well.
Right.
Because I remember doing the math and trying to get it up. But there was a bigger TIE bomber, TIE Punisher, and that was 20, I think, or 21. And so there are slightly variations in terms of price there, but they're all like, that's not that expensive. If you compare that to some of the other games that you play, like Warhammer, where you could spend literally like 400 or 500 euro on an army alone. Like.
So far we've spent the starter box, which is €37 or €35, Slave 1, which I think was €30 or something like that, and then this TIE Defender, which was €16. So altogether it's 60, 70, €80, and you've got €1.5 less, €80, and you're like fully committed to the game.
Yeah.
Whereas in other game sets, it's a lot more cash to get that kind of commitment. So
and this is all rules, dice, everything.
Everything you can need. You do not need to buy extra stuff.
The only other thing I'm actually considering buying myself would be probably a map, which you'll see later of what one of Joe's has.
Yeah. I got my custom star map, so we can play it on.
And then
cinematic.
One of the carry cases, because I don't like carrying things about in the base boxes. I prefer an actual carry case, which I can customize my list and go through.
I don't like carrying things in general.
There we go. So that is the Imperialist. We'll move on to the Rebel ones in a little while, but we're going to stop obviously this video, so we've got a cutscene and everything between it, and yada yada yada.
I'm going to get a sandwich.
So, we're going to get some food first, and then we'll come back and do the last one. So thanks for watching.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Right.
Just fix my hair.
This is a test from sitting further back away from the mic with the pop filter in place. This isn't a test using OBS Studio recording audio software.
Pop filter, pop, sponsored by S'mores, Snacky S'mores by Minitures S'mores. Nice Iron Man t-shirt chain.
Thank you.
Yeah. Testicles left, right.